Welcome to the Mojo for Musicians podcast from Manny Cabo Media, where we dig deep into today's top strategies to help you take your music career to the next level with real, raw, and uplifting conversations with industry professionals that are making moves, making a difference, and making the best versions of themselves to inspire you to do the same. What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Manny Cabo, and welcome to another episode of Mojo for Musicians.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mojo for Musicians, the source of inspiration for my ecosystem of aspiring artists. And today's episode, number 22 to be exact, focuses on the power of lyrics and how they impact our lives, both from a musician's and societal standpoint. It's no coincidence that song lyrics have been deemed by top industry songwriters as well as critics as being the most effective medium for influencing and conveying emotions and social messages to society, specifically the younger generation. And statistics have shown that there are at least 1 billion web searches per month, making lyrics one of the most searched terms on Google, and mostly for the purposes of finding inspirational lyrical content. Essentially, what that means is people are just searching for lyrics just to feel good. So it's certainly gained some ups over the traditional analytical focus of just instrumental music and moods from companies like Grace Note, for example, that have contributed to a more personalized way of searching preferential content. And not to mention, many companies are jumping on the bandwagon and investing heavily toward lyrical software integration, for pieces of lyrical rights, which is no surprise, especially after the surge of AI, artificial intelligence and special algorithms geared toward tracking specific musical preferences. So believe me when I tell you there's no better time to really master the craft of songwriting and building your lyrical content prowess than now, and have a crack at least at leveraging all these search engines to benefit your career as a musician. I mean, hey, it certainly served Bob Dylan pretty well with a Nobel Prize for his literature, and that was unprecedented. So why not you? It's no wonder why spoken word and poetry both flirt with a sense of musical cadence, if you will, because they were meant to be read with conviction or some sense of emotional attachment, which evokes emotion and feelings. And as an aside, they both lend themselves to enhancing the overall educational experience, as I said before, especially in children. I mean, what better way to communicate with a child, or anyone for that matter, than the universal language of music and lyrics? As in the case of my incredible guest today, who's made a career in helping students, underprivileged kids, and essentially all of his audiences build social and emotional skill sets, typically in the realms of self-awareness and confidence, which to me are the backbone to individual growth on all levels. Because the way I break it down is this: when people listen, then they learn, and then they can create and then impart their own experiences into words. And what that does is truly foster a culture of active listening, which again is indispensable for any demographic. Now, this is the only caveat that I bring to the table, because we all have to remember words carry a certain resonance and power to them, because they can essentially shape our lives for the good and bad, And you could be the Mother Teresas of the world, or you could be the Hitlers of the world with your words. They could be inspiring, or they could be manipulative for harm and deceit. And if spoken with conviction, they can delineate our beliefs and emotions that inevitably shape our views of the world. And again, it's no surprise that mainstream artists nowadays are including lyrics on their streaming platforms. And it's now a commonplace for artists to add a music lyric video to their arsenal of marketing tactics, to enhance the engagement of their listeners. And I know from a personal level and standpoint, there's been multiple occasions where the lyrics have intensified my desire to look deeper into an artist and find out more about them. Things like how they were inspired, who's the song about, and why did they write about that? Essentially, the point I'm trying to make is when you have powerful lyrics and you combine them with incredible melodic lines and musical structures, then it's a recipe for inquisitiveness. And that's a win-win situation for both the artist and the fan, or in this case, the listener. Now, hear me out on this one, because the one piece of advice that I have for any message that you want to tell the world is that you always want to come from a place that's attached to your heart, because Personal anecdotes are the most effective because they're real. Whatever the emotion was that you experienced at the time was real. And when you side with your own personal truth, it always resonates more fully with whoever's listening because it's almost like they can hear your emotion, and it gives rise to this sense of integrity in the content in telling that story. So, whatever stage of the game you're at, I don't care whether you're a novice or a pro, just keep writing. And always have a pen and paper or recorder readily available to jot down and record these ideas, because if you don't, man, trust me, you will forget them. I don't care how great you think your memory recall is, you will forget it. I promise. And who knows, that could have been your next number one hit song. And when we come back, my guest has undoubtedly graced and dominated the Billboard charts and has inspired millions globally by sharing his truth and his lyrical prowess with some of the most well-respected artists in this industry. So stick around. This is definitely going to be a fun one. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Mojo for Musicians podcast. To learn more about becoming a guest on the show to share your mojo with us, visit mannycabo.com and send us an email in the contact section. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you like what you hear, be sure to give us a positive review on your favorite listening platform. And now, back to the show.
All right, Mojo Maniacs, we are back with another gem-filled episode of Mojo for Musicians, the source of inspiration for my beautiful ecosystem of musicians around the globe. And I have to say, for all those out there fascinated by lyrics and the power of word and spoken word, this episode is certainly for you, because my guest today is one of the most sought-after lyricists who has not only brought awareness to a plethora of national and global issues, but has also dominated the airwaves with his megastar collaborations from the likes of Beyonce and Kanye West, John Legend, these little people that I'm sure you guys know about, just to name a few, which have also earned him, man, this is just reading this back is incredibly alarming. An astronomical 24 Grammy nominations, 6 Grammy Awards, 7 ASCAP Awards for both pop and R&B. And if that weren't enough, you throw in some Emmy and Peabody and Tony Awards, and you have the genius of who this world has come to know as Malik Youssef. And I'm beyond humbled and honored to bring him on. So please, let's welcome to the show a man who has certainly dominated the lyrical world and Chicago's Southside powerhouse, Malik Youssef. How are you, Malik? And welcome to Mojo for Musicians, my man.
Bro, you got your mojo working. You got your mojo working. I love it.
It's all because of you, man. I'm just speaking the truth. That's it. How are you?
I'm absolutely amazing, man. I'm blessed to be 6 feet on top of the ground as opposed to the opposite. So, it can't get better than that. You start off alive in the morning, you got a chance to win.
Absolutely. And I can't move on without asking, like, what incredible projects are you working on right now that are impacting the world, that perhaps you could indulge us in as a little ear candy, if you will?
Yeah. So,
I know there's a lot, but limit it down to at least 10.
Yeah, that's a lot. You know what, though, Manny, I'll tell you what I'm really doing is just furthering the craft, furthering the access for people. I have a program called Bad Kids Class and Bad Kids Camp. And I just teach people about publishing and metadata and, how to monetize off cover songs and all the stuff that the industry should be teaching people, but
right.
Chooses not to for whatever reasons. And I'm not going to get into that, but that's my main thing. And we're writing songs for big artists. We're doing a Rock Nation writing camp coming up. I've been in contact, contrary to popular belief, based on, what the tabloids talked about through Kim Kardashian's Twitter and stuff like that. I'm working with Kanye on some stuff.
Okay. Well, you've
projects.
Worked with Kanye on past stuff, and I might say past successful stuff.
Very successful. We've been very successful together. Kanye and I are not friends. We are maybe polar opposites. I don't know if that's possible, the polar opposite of another human being, because there's so many commonalities, but, we are not people that hang out with each other. We don't like many of the same things, but the friction that we create has made both of us a lot of millions and him, I guess, billions. and we made a powerful, impactful music. Even with your boy Adam, we did a song with
I
him.
know.
So that was, so I just, people think that this game, and you do this as a profession, as an
Right.
occupation, but you also do it from a position of love, because
Exactly.
it has to be in your heart, because this is not easy, man. And that it's not easy to get up
No.
every day
Easy.
and
God.
pour a piece of your soul out.
You know what's
It's
funny? And
easy.
people create this narrative. Like I remember being on The Voice or when I was on La Voz, of course, they're like, well, how is Adam? You guys talk all the time. I'm like, no, this is a business. This is TV. I don't go out and pick up the phone. Hey, yo, Levine, let's go out and hang out. No, it's not like that. So it's true. You have to correct people in this fabrication of a narrative. It's like, now I'm going to interview you. It's funny. They always ask me, like, when you interview these people, like, what do? Do you go out for drinks? I'm like, no. It's difficult enough to narrow down the time schedule of so many, there's so many variables that go into this. And I'm doing this, like you said, out of love, to provide knowledge and insight to people that, again, are under the misconstrued notions that this industry is simple. It's the furthest thing from. And the problem is everyone wants to be famous. Nobody wants to do the work. And that's why it's very credible to have people like you to set the standards straight.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that candidly, because it's always difficult, because you feel like you're busting somebody's bubble, but that's a bubble that needs to be burst, man.
Right.
And you have to tell people it's not pretty. That's the finished product. You're looking at the finished product on television. There's editors, there's teams of people that went to school for editing to edit this
Sure.
to make it look like me and Kanye were hanging out all day, and then we just made this great song.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen,
Not how it works.
I have to say, I don't know how I'm going to squeeze in the voluminous archive of greatness that you've created in a 30-minute interview, but I promise I'm going to do my best to touch on the things that will certainly inspire our beautiful and expansive world of artists. Because, dude, there are layers upon layers of incredible contributions that you have offered the industry. And not to mention, you built such a robust list, like we're talking about, of A-list relationships. I mean, Jay-Z, Drake, Katy Perry, Rihanna, Kanye West, and the list goes on. And let's be realistic, forming music alliances and collaborations of this caliber is no coincidence, and surely a testament to you and your work ethic, which I personally appreciate, because so many artists forget, like I said before, and I keep repeating myself, but I think it's a must, like you said, shattering the egos, because the due diligence and the amount of work it takes to not only make it in this industry, especially on your caliber, but to even sustain a career in music. And again, I'm going to say this, I have to repeat it. Everyone wants to be famous. Nobody wants to do the work. And if you're doing this for being rich and the fame, then you need to do something else, because in reading your backstory, you have certainly overcome a significant amount of obstacles, but here you are, dominating the Billboard charts and everything else that comes your way. And of course, educating the world through the magic of your words and lyrics. So, thank you for that, because it's truly refreshing for me personally. And yes, the accolades are great, but they're only one layer to you. And what I want to know is that gray area, that juicy stuff that led you to be so impactful in this industry, the secret sauce. So if you don't mind, I've created a few questions to share with my audience that I know and certainly bring value to so many up-and-coming artists, but also well-established artists, if that's cool with you, Malik.
Of course, brother. Let me say this too, just so everybody's clear. I'm really honored to be here with you. You are a consummate professional. You are one talented so-and-so. And I mean, one day I'm going to be able to write a song for you. I'm telling you that now. I'm going to put it in the universe.
Well, I just want to tell people I did not pay you to say that. And listen, you want to talk about humble. I don't even know what to say. This interview is done as far as I'm concerned once you said that. So, but anyway, without further ado, man, I totally appreciate you. I got nothing but love for you and what you're doing. But I'm going to get into question number one, because I really respect your time. I really do. And I'm gracious enough that you're spending 30 minutes and taking time out just to join me here. But take me on a little journey, right, from your childhood upbringing to that moment, perhaps an epiphanic moment that you said, you know what, I love music and I feel like I've got something and I need to show the world. And like, how did you get to that moment, and what consumed you with the intensity to become what you've become today, essentially? Because for me, as we discussed before, prior to hitting the record button, it was hardship, it was ridicule. It was getting verbally bullied. And I believe it's the difficult times that define who we are. And I know certain geographical areas can have a really rough impact on one's childhood. I grew up in Brick City, Newark, as I was telling you. So, scarcity and negative elements ran rampant around me. So I had to learn to navigate through the pitfalls of temptations and negative influences and criticism. So, in other words, how did you convolute those hardships into greatness that many of us lose the battle to?
Yeah, well, start with, I'll answer the last question first. Being able to take a step back, right? To be able to analyze what's going on, to kind of crowbar myself out of using a great amount of torque to torque myself out of reactionary impulses, which all humans have.
Sure.
We say, this happened, I want to react right away. Your kid drops, I don't know if you have any kids, I got kids.
I do, I got a daughter. I got a daughter, yeah.
I got a daughter, and I got two daughters, right? I got two girls, right? So, and boys as well. But when somebody drops a glass or a plate, to immediately computate what's going on. The glass got dropped, right? This is an accident on the part of a child. Now, I'm just going to correlate this to the streets really quickly.
Sure, please.
So a kid drops a glass or a plate. You hear it shatter. First thing you should be thinking, is this kid that I am responsible for okay?
Right.
I am less responsible for the glass than I am the kid. So, you okay, baby? Yeah, they're already scared. They already broke something. And then you quickly computate, how much did that plate cost? $10 plate? Cool. Over time, over the lifetime of this kid, that's pennies, right?
Right.
I want this kid to feel confident that if they drop a plate, they're not going to get lambasted by their father for dropping a plate. Now, in the street, something happens. Somebody says something to you. They diss you. They diss one of your guys, one of your crew members, one of your gang members, one of your fraternity, whatever.
Right.
Okay, cool. What did this person say? You can't just say, man, Malik, they just dissed me. Come on, let's go get them. Step back. What happened? Man, you ain't listening to me. I'm listening. I'm asking you what happened. And that's how I was able to slowly but surely give myself a little bit of an estuary between the salient ocean and then the fresh, fast running river that's leading into the ocean.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I have to make a lot of demarcation between myself and then what is expected of me as a reactionary, because in the streets, like the bricks, just like Southside Chicago, the person that reacts the fastest is usually the person that's going to survive.
Right.
But once I get out of survival mode, I can analyze. Now the brain can take on a different function. Now that part of my brain is used to solve problems, which we know is for creativity, but it's also problem solving. I have less problems because I analyze better, so that less things look like a problem and more things look like maybe an equation. And that's how I got out of that. Now, for music, I didn't know that I was a musician. I didn't know. I just knew that everything I read had melody to it, even if there was no music around. Everything I read was in rhythm, and didn't understand that I thought like that. It was my brain. It wasn't the pamphlet I was reading from the Jehovah's Witness. It wasn't the passage in the kids' book that I was reading that had music. There was no music there. It was in me.
Right.
And as I got older, I didn't love music because I had been so acquainted with it my whole life. It was laborious, really, to think like that. Imagine sitting in school at 12 years old and everything the teacher writes on board sounding like a song. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong?
It's like me, man, banging pencils. I was a drummer. Everything I heard had a beat to it. I get it. And you know what?
Wow.
Just to interrupt you, there's this amazing and powerful saying that says, you can't see the picture if you're in the frame. So taking a step back, it's huge. Go ahead, man. Absolutely. It's powerful.
Well, I love that saying.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see the picture if you're in the frame. I'm going to take that from you a little bit.
Wait, did you just learn something from me? Wait, I got to confirm that. Did you just actually learn something you haven't heard yet? That's brilliant.
You're crazy, dog. Yeah. So the music thing, and you said it before, and you exemplify it in the most I want to say belligerent way, and I mean belligerent with all positive connotation. Belligerently, you serve. which is why you create this podcast for us,
Right.
to give us information and to, bring people that we haven't met before and their viewpoints. So you're giving us this crash course in humanity through you as a conduit, which I know has to be exhausting. I know it is, but thank you for doing it. So in that space, I am the same way in serving, but mainly it was the street and people I came in contact with because I didn't understand music, nor did I have a megaphone or even a microphone at the time. So in me serving people that need the most service are the creatives,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
people that musicians and
Exactly.
singers, they always need something to help go with their, it's like stone soup. They have the water, they have the fire, but they don't have all the ingredients, right?
Right.
So bring all these things to bear. And I started being around artists, Tupac when I was a kid. I'm around Tupac. He introduced me to Biggie, you know, I'm around Common, he introduced me to Fat Joe, and just keep going, and it just keeps snowballing avalanche. Now these guys weren't big when I met them. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
These guys were roadies. Tupac Shakur was a roadie when I met him.
Yeah.
So Lil C's wasn't even signed when I met him through Biggie. It was so all these things, and then you lead up to like the biggest thing, which was Kanye West, who needed money, and I flew out to LA to bring him money. Still didn't know the music industry, and was around him every day because I had put a major investment at the time, what seemed like a major investment into Kanye. And I was there every day, just kind of watching it grow and also doing, helping with some cash deployment, not just bringing cash, but also like spend that here, spend this there. And I started realizing that I was a songwriter. Nobody ever told me. I just thought I was helping people write their songs. And then I'm like, oh, I'm a songwriter and a producer. And that changed everything for me. And combined with that acumen combined with my ethic, my work ethic, made everything accelerate. So it looked like I came out of nowhere, like I shot out of a cannon, and just was like this mega star songwriter. But it built up and smoldered for so long, and it was so much like a bamboo tree. It was so much of me was underground for so long that when it shot straight up, people were like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" But it was all the service, like you said. It was the service part.
Oh yeah, man, that's powerful. And you know what? Till this day, I haven't worked since March. I lost my dad to COVID in December. It's been brutal. Malik, when I tell you that this year has been difficult, that's an understatement. But again, I guess this is my way of keeping my dad's legacy alive. Who told me, the way to succeed is to treat people kindly, put your heart and soul in whatever your passion is, keep your truth. But here's the closing statement, the nail in the coffin is you uplift everyone around you, because it's true. Even if you're a billionaire, it's lonely at the top if you're a douchebag. So I've made it a point, an integral part of my journey to uplift everyone around me. And whether it's a producer, whether it's somebody like you, I won't engage in anything. My first question is, will we all win? What's the benefit of the project? It's not just for me. It's not just for Malik. Will Miss Toy win? Will all the assistants win? Will the roadies win? I want everybody to win because I'm a big fan of karmic debt. I don't want to owe anybody. I want everybody. When I leave this planet, I want to leave it better than when I got it. Okay. So I want to make sure that I leave an impact to make people feel guilty that they're not servicing other people, because people unfortunately don't understand the value of service, and Oprah says it all the time. I lead a life of service, and I never understood that, because we're so engrossed with our egos that it prevents us from seeing things clearly. And once I got rid of my own ego, and believe me, man, I've played in front of 60,000, in front of 14 million on The Voice, but I've also played in front of the bartender. I had bigger ego than the stadiums I performed. But once I stuck that ego in my pocket, it gave me clarity. And The Voice and these shows and talking to you, it's not giving me accolades. It's giving me the purpose that I need to keep spreading the words of positivity, influencing people that it's not about you. It's about helping everyone around you, and you'll get it back 10 times, 100 times. And that's not even why I do it. You said you want to help me with a song. I don't force it. That's an impulse. If the universe says that, hey, this is going to happen, then it's going to happen. Because when we force things, we are so lost in a sea of egos, and we're focused on that end result that we don't see the journey. We don't see the beauty of that journey. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And I know you heard that before. And you saying all these things, just clarifies everything. So I appreciate you, man. I really do powerful stuff, man. So thank you for gracing us with those incredible words.
Man, you said something. I'm gonna just ask you a question real quick.
Sure.
You said something and you kind of brushed past it. I don't want that to be a moment where you brush past.
Yeah.
You said, I've also played in front of the bartender.
Mm-hmm.
That's the work, man. That's the
Yeah.
real shadow work that artists have to do.
Yeah.
I discovered Travis Scott on MySpace,
He's a beast. Yeah.
2007.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew this kid, Jock. Nobody knew him. He was like, you guys, I look up to you guys. And I just engaged him, didn't do anything special for him. Didn't get a chance to work with him until 2012.
Wow.
That's 5 years after meeting me, which seemed like people were like, well, I met Malik. Now everything's going to go crazy. And I remember even after that, us performing at a county fair in, I believe maybe it's Texas. And it was like 14 people there. And I was like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to have 12 people. You did a good job. Now it's not going to go to 12 now, and just laughing about that. And you said something. You said in front of the bartender. And artists need to hear you say that because you're famous. You're on TV, millions of people said your name and wished and prayed and hoped and listened to you and saw you. And, guys got jealous or inspired. Women got jealous or fell in love, so on and so forth. And you said, the bartender, man, these kids have to know that sometime that's part of the journey. Right. At some point on the way up or the way down or both. That happens. And I'm glad that you said that. I needed you to say that. Thank you so much. Because I would have skipped over that. I would have not said that part about when being a consummate professional, when nobody's listening. Mm-hmm. But of course, that's why you were able to get on in front of the world and perform so well.
And to add to that, absolutely. And it's something that I need to address because it puts people's egos in check and I don't want them. I remember on The Voice, I didn't even want to be on the show. And the producers are like, well, why not? I'm like, because it's not about that. And I found myself in my hotel room with 30 or 40 other contestants in the room and their parents. And I'm teaching them how to meditate, how to quiet their mind, how to stop focusing on those 90 seconds because it's going to pass you by. Instead, focus on the relationships that you're consummating. Focus on the work ethic. Focus on the actual journey and live in the moment. And that's one of the elements that from this podcast and people like yourselves that I can allude to and hopefully send that message out because playing to the bartender, and I say this with a huge caveat, most people's egos get broken, but this is the beautiful thing about having a passion for it because it doesn't matter. The audiences are all an illusion. Whether it's 1 or 60,000 or 14 million, it's all the same when you close your eyes. If you're doing it for the love of it, then that doesn't matter. And here's the thing. You don't know who's in the audience. And because I performed that night, it was a Wednesday night at the Continental in New York City in the middle of a snowstorm. I went out, right? Because I committed to it. This is my passion. The owner gave us the next 5 shows, prime time, 8 o'clock on Friday nights. And there were record executives there that broke us. So you never know who's in the audience. You got to rock out consistently like it's a sold out Donington Park in Europe. But a lot of people get all bent out of shape because, the ego kicks in and, there's not that many people here. Shut up and perform. You don't know who's in the audience. And you know that better than I do. Look at the people that you've dealt with. We're not always going to have incredible performances. That's not what I'm saying. But do the best that you can. Put your best foot forward, come correct, and execute your passion because the audience deserves that. So with that being said, man, I just want to segue into question 2 because you and I can talk about this for hours and it's so powerful. Notice how I flare up when I talk about this because it's meaningful to me,
They got to hear it, bro. They need to hear this fire, bro.
Come on. Absolutely. So question number 2. So as I alluded to before, like, your hands have been in basically every sector of the entertainment industry, from television to film to movie soundtrack, placements, movie placements, and what have you. So how are you able to manage the influx of these opportunities? And are there gatekeepers that help you decide what's worth your time? Is Miss Toy behind going, no, don't do this. Don't do this. Not gonna waste time. Or do you actually say, no, I love this. I want to be a part of this. Like, what's your process of selection? Because apparently everything you touch turns to platinum, full pun intended, actually. It always rings this, like I said before, collective gain, which has always been my most important impetus to selecting the songs that I choose and the creative projects that I embark on, because they resonate with me. And I only ask this question because so many of my colleagues constantly ask, why do you choose to do this song or interview this guest or take on this role, etc.? So what was so important about the projects that you were so adamant about, aside from the financial gain and the industry clout, of course?
Yeah, I'll say this, and I want the audience to hear me clear. I want to be clear as a tear with this. Once you have committed to something, the universe itself delivers the componentary elements to complete your task. The universe doesn't want you to lose. The universe wants you to win, because that's how the universe grows. It wants to expand, not shrink.
Right.
It wants to be fed energy. It doesn't, so it'll feed you, and it'll be a reciprocal relationship. The reciprocity is important. The universe doesn't want to drain you of everything and leave you with nothing. That doesn't serve her well. So when I've chosen projects to work on, honestly, 90% have been somewhat, innocuous. The other 10% seemed like they were going to be huge and sometimes didn't go through. I say, okay, I'll take this big project, and in the wake of that, the enterprising effect of those big projects, it maybe leaves 10 small projects. I'm like, okay, I'll take these two since I'm going to get this one big thing. The one big thing sometimes doesn't happen, even though it's only 10% of what I go for.
Absolutely.
The rest of it is kind of lateral movements. If you have ever seen a basketball game before, anybody in the audience have ever seen basketball, or even better yet, football, soccer, right? There's a lot of space between the two goals, right?
Absolutely.
The goalie's standing there most of the time watching the plays, watching the players on his team, watching players on the other team. When the action's on the other side of the field, the goalie's still tense. The goalie's not sitting there texting somebody.
He's analyzing, of course.
Of course. Still laser focused in.
Right.
In basketball, they call it moving without the ball. Baseball, same thing. Look at these sports, right? And look at this as a sport as well, because this we call it the music game, but it's more of a sport without balls, though, a sport without pucks. The object is really to move the crowd. So what I do, and like I'm sure you do too, I take the things that seem like this might not be as important as that, but it comes along with it. It'll build to that. But sometimes it's the thing itself. You mentioned doing your best at a show. Well, what you did, Manny, you came from, your house with your people in the middle of a snowstorm, got to the place. You obviously got there on time.
Always.
You got there on time. You're what we call being on schedule. Right? They say it in football. Tom Brady's on schedule. His receivers are on schedule, right?
And that's 15 minutes early, not on the dime.
No, not running in like, hey, everybody. No,
exactly.
That's prep. That's just a little time to get everything together.
Right.
Survey the crowd. Make sure you got your playlist together. Get there, and the club owner, you're not paying attention. This is the goalie. He's like, is this gonna go well? Let me see what's happening. Who is this guy? Who he come in here with? What's his guest list look like? So on and so forth. Can he inspire people to drink? Is he shouting out the club? The promoter's looking. All these things, right? You're doing all of them at the same time. So you get there, you knock out the show. It's the bartender, basically, right? You go back home. You traverse the landscape to go back home. Now, sometimes just in that traversement of the landscape, you might meet a person. It's not just the people that's at the venue. Because that happened to me one time, and I'm gonna make this for the sake of brevity. I signed on to do something with an advertising agency for Miller Genuine Draft. And it was supposed to be a huge campaign. Right. And I did a whole bunch of other small stuff in the meantime. I did I was doing my film, just like an independent little film, something small. I won an independent film project award. They gave us $500,000 or something. The film would have cost like $3 million or whatever, right? I'm like, I put my own money into it, me and my team. So I did all kind of little stuff waiting for this big thing to happen with Dave Chappelle, John Legend, Common, and myself, this big Miller campaign, right? These three black guys, one sings, one raps, one does spoken word, which is me, and one does comedy. So still did my stuff anyway, just little stuff, helping people, bring people in, bringing small actors in, soundtrack stuff. Happens to be All-Star Weekend Vegas. Also the Magic Show, which is a fashion conglomerate, I would say a convention, but it's bigger than a convention. But nevertheless, let's call it convention for sake of language. And it's All-Star Weekend. You know, DJ Clark Kent's there, Bun B, Jadakiss. We're playing basketball. Michael Jordan's birthday party is that night, so on and so forth. But I committed to do this show, and everybody fell off. No Dave Chappelle, no Common, no John Legend, just me and my homie Leon Rogers, who did the radio station in Chicago. It's also a snowstorm in the middle of February in Chicago. Flights are $1,500 to get in. I'm only getting paid. They had to take my pay down to like $2,700 or something. Right. I'm going to pay more to go there and lose all this opportunity in Vegas, but I committed. I committed to go. I fly in, it's sure a snowstorm. That's why it's so crazy to talk about snowstorm. It's a blizzard in Chicago. Yeah. I get there, it's like 4 executives from Miller. It's usually like 20 of them. There's an opening band, Jay Davies, and about maybe 8 people in the audience that came to see Malik or whatever. I performed, I hosted, I did everything. I cracked jokes, I did everything. Rapped some songs, as if it was a crowd of 80,000. Exactly. As if it was an 80,000 people crowd. They said, thank you. They said, well, wire you a check. As I was coming back to Vegas, I missed the big festivities the night before, which was that Saturday night, I believe. So I'm coming back for Sunday All-Star Weekend, right? No, Friday. I missed the Friday night events. I'm coming back. I'm a little distraught. I said, you know what? I spent this money. I'm going to treat myself. At the gate, I upgraded. Bro. This is very important to listen to this story. Okay. I upgraded. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it because it's coming. I can smell it. Yeah. I upgraded to first class at the gate. I said, I'll just have some drinks and I get past the what I missed. And bro, I get on the plane. There's a lady going crazy. A long story, super short. A lady gets on. She's a flight attendant. She tells me I'm in the wrong seat. Of course. Well, we now call Karens. Right. But this before we said the word Karen. You're in the wrong seat. I said, excuse me? She's like, are you in the wrong seat? I didn't even answer her. Let me see your ticket. I laughed. Mm-hmm. The flight attendant says, let me see your ticket. She was supposed to be here. And this, so there's a seat. She's going to be in that seat. Her husband's going to be in the seat, but can you switch and they can both sit together? And you sit over there. And this lady was super rude to me, the flight attendant lady who was going to fly in his seat. And I was like, you know what? My grandfather told me, if you have an opportunity to be right or nice, always choose nice. Right. So I took a deep breath, got away from my ego and said, you know what? I saw her husband come on. He's disheveled. He's carrying, looks like 1 billion bags. He's a pilot. He married a flight attendant. And I said, you know what? This might be his last good day of his life. This is who he's married to. I said, you go ahead, take the seat. Y'all sit together. I'll sit next to this lady. But he says, that was so sweet of you to do that. I would have never did that. I said, well, let this guy have a little bit of joy. So she's like, okay, well, since you're being nice, I'm afraid of flying. Can you hold my hand? I say, yeah, sure. Of course, ma'am. She's like, you want something to drink? I'm like, I had a glass of wine. She's like, I've had 3 glasses of wine. I'm like, okay, cool. So we're talking. We take off. I'm holding her hand. She's holding my hand super tight. She gets to ask me a few questions about who I am, what do I do? And I give her the spiel. It's like, well, my kids know you. I say, yeah. She brought her kids up from the back. They knew who I was, took pictures or whatever. Then, bro, the craziest thing happened. She said, well, she's like, what are you working on now? It's like you asked me, what are you working on now? So I'm working on a little film because the Miller Genuine Draft, that boat had sailed. It didn't be a big thing like I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. But I still had my little film I won an award for. She said, oh, my husband does. Like, he lives in Chicago, does film. That's okay, well, whatever. She says, yeah, I said, what's his name? She says, Harold Ramis. I said, Harold Ramis? So there's a famous guy in Chicago named Harold Ramis. Why would he have that name? I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, she's like, no, that's him. I said, Egan Egon from Ghostbusters, the American Pie, Stripes, and I'm naming stuff. She's like, yeah, that's my husband. I'm like, no.
Oh, that's
like,
too
well,
funny.
I'm his new wife. She's like, and he can help you with your film.
Unreal.
Hell
Serendipity.
reigns,
Serendipity,
bro.
baby. Love it.
This is why you move. This is why when you make the commitment, you go and show the F up.
Yeah.
Show up.
Yeah.
It might be the last thing on the way back from me showing up is when my life changed. That introduced me to Marvel Comics, Voltron, all the stuff that I did, the huge stuff I began to do was really from that moment of meeting Harold Ramis and Steve Carell. When I landed, it's like, he's in Vegas. He's meeting me in Vegas. He's with Steve Carell now. I go to the hotel that she tells me to go to, Planet Hollywood, I think it was. I meet both of them and everything in my life changed. And I'm here because I was nice to a guy who got married to a person that wasn't nice.
Incredible. You know, it's funny, but the universe loves a stubborn artist, and it's true, man. Just be nice. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. It's unreal. Great story. Great story. Thanks for sharing that with us, man. Amazing.
Thank you for having me, man.
It's all it takes is one moment. It's like, the one-hit wonders. All it takes is one song. Oh, that's awesome. All right, I'm going to get into question number 3. I mean, we're wrapping up here, I promise, because we're already over 30 minutes. No, dude, it's amazing. I think that's
way far.
No, because that story supports the exact message that I was looking for. So listen, question number 3 is directly geared toward your thought process, of lyrical content. And I always get a consensus from my listeners, and the biggest ones directed toward you have to do with your creative process. And sure, I know I recognize that there are certain formulas, to constructing a lyrical piece, whether it's spoken word or musical pieces, but whatever. And we all have our own flow, but how does Malik sit down and begin constructing his magic? Like, does it come from a place of circumstance, passion, worldly views? Because it's obviously a superpower of yours. And I want some access to that. I don't know, the Tesseract for all you Marvel Comics freaks out there. Like, what's your process, man?
Yeah. So Rihanna encapsulated it for me. Because I didn't understand what I was doing. I was just moving what I called on spirit, right? But now we know we have technological words for it.
Right.
It's frequency. There's vibration aspects. There's wavelength stuff. So she said, Malik writes feelings. And I was like, that's exactly what I do. I feel something. I go inside me. I feel something, or I feel something coming through the universe. And I start to kind of melodize what that is. I kind of get what that feels like. Okay, what's that? How's that work? Then I elongate. Okay, what's that? That's melancholy. I've been waiting all my life. I could change that. I've been waiting all my life.
Got it.
And then then I say, okay, now I got the feeling. I've been waiting all my life. Then the words come. Then it says like, I've been searching for my wife. I hear the guitar. Wow.
Yeah.
And then it just starts to form itself. So it's like just all you're doing is, it sounds crazy at first because I'm just getting the pieces. It's like you're looking at you're a kid and your mom or grandma made a cake. It's just eggs, eggs and a cake.
Yeah, essentially, you're compartmentalizing the ideas and you're breaking it down and dissecting the piece. It's brilliant. That's one of the things I learned in Nashville, as a songwriting capital of the world. And it's all about the story, but it's how you compartmentalize like you said, the lyrics, the melody, the emotion. There's so many components that comprise to make a beautiful piece of music. So yeah, man, it's genius.
Yeah. You've been spending that time in Nashville, me too, man. So, we have that in common. I got tons of folk down there in Nashville, just some of the craziest, most creative people. It must be in the water down there, bro.
I think so. You know what? I think we'd write a great song, man. I don't know. Huh.
I'm telling you, bro. What?
Oh, man. Yeah. All right. So, all right, here we go. And it's this is my final signature question of the show, which is, It's really simple. Ready? What's your mojo? Hence, Mojo for Musicians. That's why I created this podcast. Like, what's your mojo? What keeps you creating Grammy and Emmy award-winning monsters, like catapulting the careers, more importantly, of many artists to that status that so many artists dream of? And you can't use the word accolades or wealth, which I'm sure, that's not you anyway. Yeah. But there has to be this underlying energy that keeps you aligned to this industry. And I ask this because I get such unique answers that are just incredibly inspiring. So what is it?
The gods of all pantheons, man. No matter what pantheon you're in, they love to have their story told.
Yeah, I think they love stubborn artists too, because I'm as obstinate.
They love us.
I'm as obstinate as they come, and I'm 51. I'm still crushing it as much as I can, until the last breath. I learned that from my dad. That's brilliant. So
your last breath, yeah. Still right now, bro. Most of your life is in front of you.
Yeah.
The majority of you got more years in front of you than you do behind you, and that's crazy. So you're gonna have to really hunker down and just do it all the way, Yeah. And I'm not saying be like Ravi Shankar and die on tour, but I mean, is there a better way to go? I don't know.
I don't think so either, man. If I want to go out on stage to a sold out crowd and just people.
James Brown did it too. I mean, these guys, go out on stage. Ravi Shankar, 91 years old, we're taking best better care of ourselves than those guys did.
Right.
Those guys were just
that's an understatement, man. That's an understatement.
Understatement. And he died at 91. He's the dad of Norah Jones. I know both his daughters, and they always talk about how I remind them of him. It's just so crazy because the drive, bro, is something in us. It's just like when a kid is like, I'm going to be a fireman, and nothing, you're like, this kid really did it. Out of all the millions of people that wanted to be a fireman, this kid that said, I'm going to be a fireman, became a fireman.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Kid said, I'm going to be a doctor, did it, high school, college, medical school, and became a doctor. It's determination, man. I was at Jay-Z's house. He said, man, it's the invisible stuff, man.
Oh, I love that. That's great. It's like that. It's the X chromosome. It's internal. It's this element that's inexplicable, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, oh man, this has been such an amazing, I was going to say 30 minutes, but 40-minute journey.
Oh, geez,
I know. And I'm so grateful for your time and everything that you share with my global listeners. And you are certainly, man, a force to be reckoned with. And I want to say thank you for all the goodness and awareness that you bring to this world through your own mojo of words. And I was going to say, please give Miss Toy, who is here, and Saba, of course, love her, a big hug for helping me curate this interview. But before we go, where can my audience find you to keep up with your successes and all of your offerings to the world, brother?
I don't know. I think I'm on social media. It's Malik Youssef 100 on Instagram.
Okay.
I post stuff on there sometime. I'm on Twitter as Malik Youssef, Facebook as Malik Youssef, and then I have a MalikYoussef.com. I'm going to do more work now that you said that. To put stuff there.
Spoken like a true famous guy. I don't know. That's great. You got to outsource everything because you're so damn busy, man. But listen, I get it. I completely get it. It doesn't surprise me, man. But yeah, it was certainly a pleasure having you on. It's truly awesome. Like, you are a rock star in my book, and surely in the eyes of millions globally. And I wish you nothing but continued abundance, perfect health, and wealth, my friend. And thanks again for your time, and I'll surely be watching you. And who knows, like I said, maybe I'll join you one day on that Billboard countdown with music, because I sure as hell ain't going to give up, because even as like they say, a broken clock is right twice a day, and we all have our moments, all right?
Yes.
All right, brother,
and
listen.
Let's do it, and let's do it, and let's mark this day as the day we said we were going to do it.
Let's make this happen. Let's make this happen. That's a closer.
Next year this time, when the hit is out and it's been spent 10 weeks on a Billboard chart, people are like, wow, these dudes said that shit, and it happened. Let's do it.
So yeah, today, June 6th at exactly 3:50 p.m. my time, 2:50 Central Time, we agreed that we're going to come up with something, and the universe will conspire to bring both of our efforts together. Let's leave it at that, Malik.
Yes, sir.
Love you, brother. Thank you. I love what you stand for, and so much love going your way, man. All right, you take care of yourself.
Cabo, love, bro.
Much love. Take care.
This has been a Mojo for Musicians podcast. If you're a musician, producer, engineer, or any other industry professional wanting to share your mojo and stories of success with our listeners, or just want to share some feedback on today's episode, we'd love to hear from you. So just send us an email at info@mannycabo.com. Thanks for listening.